Hey guys, Glutanimate here. Welcome to the introduction tutorial for the AnJoy add-on for Anki. What this add-on allows you to do is connect your gamepads and controllers to Anki and use them to both power through your reviews and just control your interface in general. What I want to do in this video is do three things. First of all, I want to showcase the installation of the add-on, then showcase the use of the add-on, and then dive into the configuration and customization of its options. By default, or the installation is very easy. You can simply head to Tools, Add-ons, and then simply drag and drop the AnJoy file onto the screen. Having done that, you can then simply restart Anki, and that will both install and activate the add-on so that it's ready to use. Now, one thing I have to point out before we actually dive into the use of the add-on is what I did before recording this video, and that is connecting my controller to my PC. In this case, I'm using a Bluetooth controller, so I set all of those things up, made sure that the controller is working with my PC, and as soon as that is done, I can actually use AnJoy. So depending on the operating system you're using, depending on the controller you want to connect to your PC, you might have to perform some steps beforehand, but for that I would have to refer you to the instructions and tutorial for your specific controller and your specific operating system. I will be linking some of those instructions in the text that goes along with this video, but generally speaking, if your controller is set up with your PC, then it's ready to be used with AnJoy. You can make sure that the controller is supported and that it actually works with AnJoy by heading to this web page right here, the HTML5 gamepad tester. Any controller that works on this website should also work with AnJoy. So if you want to make sure that your controller is supported by AnJoy, visit this website, see if it works, and then you can pretty much be sure that it's also going to work with the add-on. Alright, so we've set up our controller, we've connected it to our PC, and we've installed the add-on, so we can now actually use it. So by default, I want to showcase some of the bindings the add-ons comes with. So you can use the gamepad's D-pad buttons here to navigate through your different different decks on your deck list. You can use that both to navigate up and down. You can use it to expand and collapse different deck hierarchies, and then you can use the A button to actually head into a deck and then start reviewing. When performing your reviews, the most important buttons that you can use by default with the default assignment are the four buttons right here, A, B, X, and Y. Which actually serve two different functions. First of all, they allow you to reveal the answer. Then hitting them again, they actually allow you to rate your card. The great thing about this is that you don't have to move your thumb too much. You can simply just use the same button to both showcase the answer and perform your reviews, and that I think is very powerful. Now, another thing you might have noticed is that you actually get vibration feedback here. So if I choose the again option, you can see you get this long vibration pattern. And if I use again, for instance, you just get two quick jabs of the vibration motor. So you've got immediate feedback for the reviews you perform, so that you always know which buttons you've pressed, and so that you actually also get some type of reinforcement when doing your reviews. Alright, so that's as far as the basic assignments here are concerned. Let's just quickly showcase how you can customize them. And to do that, you can head into the Tools menu up here. You go to Tools and then AnJoy Options. And as you can see, we have quite a few settings here. The General tab here will allow you to modify things like the type of feedback that you are being presented with. As you saw before, and you had those tooltips in the bottom left corner. You can enable or disable them here. You can change the vibration settings, etc. And you can assign different actions to the analog sticks. By default, it's scrolling, but in the future you will also be able to assign other other actions. But the most important tab definitely is the one up here, the button assignment tab. And this will allow you to assign all kinds of different actions to your buttons. And as you can see, these actions are also context aware. So depending on which screen in Anki you're looking at, so if you're looking at the main screen, the question side, or the answer side, you can actually assign different actions to those buttons. And as you can see here, we also have a common tab, and this one applies regardless of which screen you're looking at. However, an awesome thing about the add-on is that you have this type of inheritance pattern. So what does this mean? It means that any action that you assign on here, on the common screen for instance, can actually be overridden by these more individual or more specific assignment sheets. So let's say, for instance, you have this assignment here to press the Xbox button to go to the main screen. By default, this assignment applies to all of these screens, which you can see because it says inherit here. But if you wanted to assign it to a different screen, specifically when you're looking at the answer side, then you can change inherit to any of these different other actions that the add-on can perform. So all types of different actions you can assign here, and you can also make them specific to the type of screen you're looking at. And as you can see, also the answer side inherits from the question side, so anything that is set in the question side by default will also apply to the answer side. One thing I want to explain here, which I think might be a bit confusing, is that there are actually two different types of rating schemes that you can use. So by default, we can see we have those options that say rate hard or again, or rate easy or good. But you can also choose from rate 1, 2, 3, or 4. So what's the difference between them? Well, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the more conventional options. It's what you would use when using a keyboard, pressing all of these different keys. The rate the rate good, again, easy or good, or hard or again options are more intelligent. The important thing about them is that they guarantee that whenever you press rate good, you always get good. Now, why is that important? Well, the thing with Anki is that by default, depending on the type of card you're looking at, you could either be faced with 2, 3, or 4 different buttons to choose from the rating options at the bottom here. And you probably are familiar with, if you've been using Anki for a while, anytime you rate your card, you actually have to check how many buttons there are, and then depending on the number of buttons, you then have to select the right number to choose. And that adds some cognitive load to your reviews. You have to actually think about which button to choose, and I feel that slows you down. So because of that, I've implemented these options here, which are more intelligent. What they basically do is that whenever you choose rate good, you make sure that regardless of the number of buttons you have at the bottom, you will always be able to choose rate good with that assignment. And the same applies to rate again. And with these options here, easy or good or hard or again, the add-on will try to choose the optimal option for you. So let's say if a hard option exists, if one of those buttons at the bottom is hard, the add-on will choose hard. However, in case of different card types where hard is not present, the add-on will choose again. So whenever it can, the add-on will choose the first option, hard, or in the other case, easy. And whenever that option is not present, because you're looking at a new card, for instance, or whatever, then the add-on will automatically choose the good option or the again option, respectively. I think that if you get used to this scheme, I think that it is a lot more powerful than the conventional way to rate your cards, and it will make your reviews much faster, I think, at least from my experience. Okay, so that's the button assignment tab. Now we also have a controller layout tab. Now this one is a bit more complex. The idea behind this is to allow you to reassign the definition of which button the add-on recognizes is actually mapped to the physical button on your gamepad. Now, if you're using an Xbox controller, if you're using a first-party Sony PlayStation controller, you will probably not have to mess with this assignment here, because the add-on should be able to recognize them and assign them to the proper physical buttons. But if you're using a third-party controller or something other that might have a more stranger setup on it, then this configuration screen here will allow you to make sure that the physical buttons on your gamepad are actually also recognized as the correct virtual buttons that you see here. The way you can use the screen is very simple. You simply click on one of those different buttons that you want to reassign, then press the physical button that you actually want to assign to that one, and that's it. So very easy, select it, press it, and that's done. And the same, of course, for the axes here. I'll also simply use the stick then, as the instructions here say, to assign the different axes here. Alright, so that's as far as the configuration of the add-on is concerned. I think we've pretty much covered everything here. You also have a quick side note here. You also have a button here that will allow you to copy information about your gamepad to your clipboard. This might be important if you want to report a bug or something, if you want to just help me understand how to add compatibility for even more controllers, then make sure to use that debug info and send it to me so that I can investigate whether I can add support for those additional controllers. Alright, so that's as far as the overview of AnJoy is concerned. I hope you enjoyed this. I think personally, having used this add-on for more than a month now, I can confidently say that it really has completely changed the way I review my cards, honestly. Especially because this is a wireless controller. It just makes it so much easier to simply lean back and just comfortably go through my reviews without being tied to my chair, without being tied to my keyboard. It just has made the reviewing experience so much more enjoyable, really. It's a small change, but believe me, it really makes a difference. Alright, I hope you guys will enjoy the add-on. Make sure to give it a try, let me know what you think, and thanks for watching the video. Hope to see you next time again. Until then, good luck with your studies, and bye.